Hello, Phil from the future here with a couple of quick notes. Number one, recommended round for this video is round 4. It is an incredible match of Magic. I don't want to spoil it any more than that, but it is worth watching, but settle in, it's a long and grindy one where both players are in danger of timing out. Number 2, this video is going to feature a rebuild in the middle of the video. So, with that being said, I hope you enjoy. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another modern video. And today we're going to be playing Swan Soup, as Socks of Grandeur calls it. This is a weird one, and it is probably easiest to show off what we are attempting to do, rather than just fully explain it here. This deck is built around the interactions between Swans of Bryn Argoll and Seismic Assault. So the Swans has this ability where if a source would deal damage to this creature, prevent that damage, and the source's controller draws cards equal to the damage prevented this way. So what is this going to look like in practice? We want to assemble a Seismic Assault and a Swans. What we are going to do is activate the Swans, discarding a land card. We are then going to deal 2 damage to our own Swans. This is going to make us draw 2 cards. Or, if perhaps we happen to have a land with dredge, we could dredge that land and draw 1 card. Hey, look at that. Our land is back in our hand. We can now discard a card, deal 2 more damage to the Swans, dredge our Darkmoor Salvage, and continue on in this loop, eventually drawing our entire deck. And once we have our entire deck in our hand, we can start Seismic Assaulting to face. So we can do something like, I've saved targets here. We can do something like target our opponent's face with a couple of lands and then start dredging Darkmoor Salvage again to go and redraw those lands. Since our deck contains an Eldrazi, we are also going to have the possibilities of doing things like have 2 Darkmoor Salvage in hand, discard the rest of our deck, or at least all of the land cards, and then we can do something like discard our Kozilek, or just have Kozilek naturally hit the graveyard through a dredge, and then shuffle all of those lands back into our deck so we don't end up milling ourselves, which could be a real concern. Now, this deck is kind of crazy in terms of deck building. We are not playing 4x Seismic Assault, we are playing Atali's Favor. So our goal is to cast this on a creature, more on how we get those in a second, and then discover directly into Seismic Assault, as it is our only card that costs 3 or less. I mean, other than the Atali's Favor, obviously. So, to make it so that we have an early game creature, while also not having any 3-drops or less, we are going to be using pitch elementals here. And we're going to be doing the Ephemerate tech without Ephemerate, because that costs 1. So we can do something like blink it with Swift Spiral, or counter the Leaves Play Evoke ability with Repudiate. So, this is the sort of wild things that we're going to do to attempt to be able to Atali's Favor on 3 mana. We have some failsafes for when things go wrong. We can play Nahiri the Unforgiving. We can use the Loot ability to discard a card, draw a card, put a creature into graveyard, and then make a copy of that creature so that we can end up doing the Atali's Favor thing. Or alternatively, we can start casting the bad side of some of these split spells if we have to, and just try to do things like beat down with a 4/4 blue-white Sphinx. We have to do some funny things to make removal work in this deck. We don't even get to do the Brazen Borrower trick that Rhino's decks can get away with, because we could discover into Brazen Borrower itself. I am not going to adjust the main deck of this at all. this is something Socks of Grandeur has put a lot of work into. This is very much trying to see, can we make this concept work? I have adjusted the sideboard, though. So we need something that can interact versus combo while also not being 3 mana or less. So this is about the best we have to work with. Inevitable Betrayal is something that we could potentially use in place of Seismic Assault if we are playing against something like Eldrazi. And I'm going to leave myself a couple of Bizarro Silver Bullets that I could potentially discover into instead of doing my whole combo thing. And then we're going to have a few permanents that can answer opposing artifacts, like, say, Corey Steelcutter, without necessarily stopping our combo. I'm now sitting here thinking about these detention spheres. There were a bunch of detention spheres in the original build as a sideboard option, but that at 3 mana, that isn't actually dodging the Atali's Favor. Discover. More Blood Moons for Eldrazi, then? I could keep a detention sphere as something to go into for, I don't know, some matchup where detention sphere is great. Yeah, maybe we just max out on Blood Moons to beat Eldrazi. All right. So one last thing that I want to talk about here, and this is just going to be some general brewing stuff. In order for this deck to work, I need to get a Swans into play. I need to get a Seismic Assault into play. I need to have a land in hand. I need to keep hitting land drops beyond that, and probably find a Darkmoor Salvage quickly. I need my opponent to not have a removal spell for Swan. I need my opponent to not have a removal spell for Seismic Assault, and I need them to not have something that can mess with my graveyard and take out my stuff. This deck is asking for a lot, and I think it is very important to recognize that ahead of time. This is not something that is just clean and powerful. When you cast a Shardless Agent into Crashing Footfalls and you get 10 power in 1 turn for 3 mana, that is something that is just objectively powerful and fast. This deck is often going to be slower. In doing some sample goldfishes with this deck, I found that opening hands were often clunky and didn't have the pieces that I needed. So we're going to try to run this one through a friendly Modern League and see how that experience goes, and we'll see what lessons can be learned here. I don't think this is a competitive slanted deck, and there is nothing wrong with that. We want to see what can we learn about this strategy overall. And if you find this fun and you want to mess around with some of these cards on your own, consider ordering them from my sponsor, TOAmagic.com. Those folks are great. They have supported me well. I have been very happy as a customer of their store, both in person and online. If you're heading to Vegas, look for their big purple banner. There will be some sweet deals under that, and promo code ThrabenU will save you 5% on their order on your website, on their website rather. So with that being said, let's battle. Okay, so this has 1 land. This is not going to do anything. This second one has an Atali's Favor. It does not have a white card to pitch to Solitude, so we're probably getting rid of that. And this hand is looking like the best it can do is a turn 5, where I play Twins, put Atali's Favor on that. That gets me the Seismic Assault, but I don't necessarily have the Swans on top of that. I guess we're going to keep it, but this is very lacking, and this was the sort of thing that I was worried about. We'll see if we have a somewhat competitive game or if I just get run over. That is a Ragavan. That is the sort of thing that I do not want to see early on. I guess sort of humorously, if my opponent were to randomly hit Seismic Assault with a Ragavan trigger, I basically don't win the game anymore. So I'll go to 18. Opponent hits a Subtlety and plays a Territorial Kavu. We've got a tapped Triome that I can just pick up here. Note that the mana base for this deck is also pretty sketch, because you're a very strange 3-color deck that also technically needs to have a little bit of access to green, so that you can cast whatever the other side of Repudiate is. I don't remember. So there's my opponent's Triome. This is now a 5/5. So I am going to just get smacked for 7 per turn cycle. So I am at 10 here. Repudiate and replicate. My opponent have the mana to just replicate and make a copy of their Kavu? They do. But they have chosen not to do so. Now, notably, this is enchant creature you control. Since I do not currently control a creature, there's not really anything that I can do here. So I could blink this out of play for a turn, take 2, and then probably just die the following turn. I think we are effectively dead here, unfortunately. And there's sort of an unfortunate thing here. My opponent's deck is a multicolored deck, but they're a multicolored deck that has red as a base component. And things like Ragavan are still going to be castable. Ragavan creates treasures, which then cast everybody else. So I don't think we are going to sideboard here. I think we are going to try to run back the primary plan. So now we have the Swans. We naturally have the Seismic Assault in hand, which means that I would need red, red, red to cast it, which this does not go towards. I also don't have 3 mana for Nahiri, even with completed. I don't know that I throw this back, but I'm not the happiest seeing all this. All right, my opponent has perfect mana from their Leyline. So I'm going to pick up a Triome and honestly just hope for the best. I'm going to hope to just draw lands off the top, specifically red lands, which is problematic because the mana base of this deck is constructed with a whole bunch of basic lands. Yeah. Looking at this is actually going to be nearly impossible to cast. Can I put this into graveyard with Nahiri and bring it back? No, a creature or equipment card. Okay, so this should have just been a mulligan. The mana was much worse than I was imagining. All right, live and learn. Opponent fetches and surveils and plays a Scion of Draco, which is going to have every keyword known to man. So I don't get to remove that. I don't get to put it on top of its owner's library. This is just a clock. So this is bad. Subtlety would have been nice a minute ago, but now I have no reasonable plays. So I will be passing the turn. So opponent makes their land drop, and I am going to just get clocked for 4 every turn until I die, which probably won't take too long. All right, third land drop. So if I play this with 2 less loyalty, I am at 3 loyalty. I can plus to 4 loyalty. That's not enough, so I need to play this on 4 mana to survive with it for a turn. That is unfortunate and means that I don't have any good plays here. Now, drawing any land can give me Swans. Drawing a red land gives me Seismic Assault, but not curving out this into that is super problematic. So I've taken another hit. That is Tribal Flames, which neither of these cards interacts with. I am at 6 life. So I will fetch. I am going to 5. I will get one of my 2 red lands. Alright. So now I could make a Solitude and blink it to create a life linker that doesn't get through this Vigilant card. I think I am now willing to tap out and admit that my opponent's got me. Our deck failed itself here. GG's. Okay, so looking at this, we have a Swans. We don't quite have the mana to cast it. I don't have any way to get the other side of my combo. I could Subtlety something. I don't have white mana to blink this. I could Repudiate. I don't know that a turn 2, 3/3 flyer is good enough to bring this to a win. I'm going to mulligan this one. This is probably worse than the previous one. This plays a Nahiri on turn 3 and kind of hopes for the best. I don't like that. I probably have to start being less picky soon. I might need to just keep lands here and hope for the best, but this hand is terrible. All right. Non-ironically, this is very easily the best hand so far. This has a Swan and 3 lands. I'm going to keep the third red land, I guess, in case that exact scenario happens again. Windswept Heath. All right, so now we have a potential early game removal spell. And our opponent is getting a Triome of their own. Let's see what they've got. All right, looks like we're doing some domain shenanigans again. At least I can remove this time. So we'll just make our land drop past the turn. This thing's a lot less scary when it doesn't have a billion keywords attached. All right, so fetch. I'm going to have to shock. I need blue or white. I would like red. That means this probably. Goodbye. Very nice. There's a fetch. Going to 13. A wild Nicottle. That's the first time I've seen one of those in quite a while. All right, I am now actively working towards mana for a 4/3 flyer that will be pretty good versus red removal and pretty good versus the creatures that my opponent has going on over there. Even though I know that there's a scarier creature coming, I think I just need to use my mana this turn since I am tapping out next turn. Oh, that's a Flage. That is a lot of long-term damage. Twinning Twins. All right, this would be a real cool time to just get lucky and draw a Tally's Who's What's It and discover. But even if I do discover, I don't have a land to get things started. So there's that. Lush Portico ends up with the 5th non-Flage card in Graveyard. Oh, am I just dead to direct damage? No, I'm not, because they have... Oh, no, they do. Am I crazy? I thought this was top of library. Oh, they fetched. I see. So they chose not to do it. That was triple flames. Absolutely brutal. So we could try to pivot into Blood Moon. I'm going to see if we can get this deck to do its thing, though. Honestly, I'm gonna board up one of these, even though it's hard to cast. Get rid of some other card. Okay. So we have 2 mana. We have a removal spell. We have 2 swans. I have a Nahiri that I can't cast that could maybe cheat swans into play. This doesn't really feel like it's good enough. It feels like I need so many pieces for things to happen. All right. There's swans. There's Atali's Favor. This is fine. Let's get rid of this. But even though we have all our stuff, this is probably just doing the thing on turn 5, which is frankly just not fast enough. Blooded Strand into past the turn. That means that I could hold a removal spell up for this turn, but my opponent probably is not playing a haste creature. They're probably just going to set up mana and play something like the Territorial Kavu that will bonk me hard a little bit later. So this can complete domain for all 5 land types. Yeah, there's a Scion of Draco, which I could remove in a little bit. So, white-red maybe? My removal spells are just too narrow here. I can't just use it to remove that immediately and then go and play Nahiri. So I can play Nahiri for 3 mana and have it be a 4 that does not successfully survive Scion of Draco, so that's not great. That means that I am probably just, unfortunately, passing the turn, hoping to draw another land. I could play Nahiri and just offer it as a sacrifice and just literally get a looting out of it. That doesn't really feel good. I'm going to hold up a removal spell for this turn. And then maybe we play Nahiri on empty board in a minute. I don't get to evoke Subtlety here. I just can't get rid of the swans. Nicottle is fine. That is less fine. Yep. At this point, there's 7 power on the board with more potentially coming. Life's bad. I think now I have to try to hit my land drop. No, it's not going to let me do that like that. All right. So pay life, white, red, some other color. Plus for the looting, get rid of subtlety, hit land drop. Go ahead and just do that now. Grab a dual land of some kind. This just gains me 4 life. Notably, I'm still probably multiple turns away from going off. There is a dashed Ragavan. We'll see if my opponent even bothers with the Planeswalker. It is possible that they will just send directly at my face and just try to kill me. All right, they are going to get rid of it. Ragavan just had first strike because of the Scion of Draco ability. Goodbye, Ragavan. All right, I mean, there's a land. That's cool. We will see if I die. If I don't die, I can attempt to do the thing on my next turn. Yep. That'll do. That'll do. GG. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. If you want to see upcoming sets, if you want to understand commander brackets, or if you just want an awesome place to store all, and I mean all, of your deck lists, Moxfield is the place. You can organize all of your decks by folders, and you can even change the views. You like visual, they've got that. You like text, they've got that. Check out my Moxfield Pro Field if you want to see all, and I mean all, of the decks that I've been cooking up. Okay, so we have Etali's Favor for our whole Seismic Assault thing, but what are we gonna do with it? We have a 4-mana creature. We are not having enough mana to actually get to that. We don't have the Swans to kick off our combo. This is going to be a mulligan. This has really not a great plan. This is just like try to play turn 3 Nahiri and hope that we loot our way to victory. I'll go to 5 fishing for my combo pieces. I mean, that's not great. That's not great. I maybe keep both of those and ignore these. Yeah, but I need to hit 3 lands off the top and then a 4th land to discard to Seismic Assault. We'll drop a land and pass. Nahiri probably ends up being too slow here. I think my opponent is likely to play some Merfolk over the next 2 turns and just make it so that I can't play Nahiri realistically. That's fine. I'm not going to Solitude that. All right. First land drop, successfully Luxact into. We need to repeat that process a couple more times. Sure. That's another one. The exhaust ability will be pretty good as these games go long. Now with my opponent's Vial at 2, they can potentially dump in a Lord and get a decent attack this turn. I will absolutely just take 2 if they don't put in a Lord, though. Alright, here we go. That is a Hex Catcher. That's fine. We're going to kill that. This is a discard, then a draw. I don't have anything I want to currently discard if I keep Nahiri. So I guess we're pitching Nahiri. Goodbye, Hex Catcher. I'm at 18. Did not successfully Luxac into another land. So now the Merfolk deck gets to just eat us alive. Vial stays at 2, which probably means another Lord is coming. I probably lose 4 life this turn if I were to guess. There's the Vial and a Master of the Pearl Trident. You've got it. I just absolutely can't pitch the Swans to Solitude. Now I can take out this. I suppose it will do this now. But the 2 damage per turn cycle that my opponent is capable of doing is just enough to kill me if I am presenting literal nothing relevant. Flare of Denial. Sure. We got a creature for our trouble, but not the one that we wanted. Vial still remains at 2. The lording will continue until morale improves. So there we go. Yet another Lord. So now my opponent is going to have the ability to counter the Swans. I can maybe put Hexcatcher on top of Library here to reduce incoming damage, but this is looking grim. Vial still remains at 2. Note that if this spell is countered, I am literally just dead. So yeah, there we go. So that is lethal on board. I die on turn 6. One last time, let's try to force this plan. Okay, so I have a Swans. I don't have enough mana. I can't get to Nahiri. I can't get to Swans. I could, in theory, try to Subtlety something and Swift Spiral it. That doesn't seem like it's enough to win a game here. This is a similar boat as the previous hand, where if I do this, I am just fully reliant on my top decks. Subtlety is not working with these cards here. I think I will go ahead and keep it, but I am pretty unhappy with this. I'm going to try to keep both Nahiris and just treat this as something that buys some time versus some Merfolk. So there's an Aether Vial, which can catapult my opponent forward in terms of mana. I need to draw a land so badly, I'm not even going to fetch the tapped land right now. I'm just going to increase my chances of drawing a land ever so slightly. Solitude means that I can take out a Lord when I see the first one. But my situation's very bad. This is going to cost my opponent a little bit of life. And it seems like they have a counterspell. Or maybe a flash Merfolk, like, what is it, the Vidalian and a Hexcatcher. I will do a tapped land here, because in theory, sometimes I can cast a Nahiri this turn. Alright, let's eat that counterspell. So I need untapped red. This is probably Sacred Foundry here. I need to click this now. You can be white. Yep. That is a Mind Spring Merfolk. I am expecting a Hexcatcher here. So I could Solitude this right now if I want to try to make my opponent get rid of the Hexcatcher. Sorry, the Hexcatcher rather than the Merfolk. I'm just going to let them counter this and then take this out. The end result is the same, and this doesn't offer my opponent a choice about it. So goodbye. So now I just need to hit an untapped land next turn, followed by another land the following turn. If those two things happen, we can attempt to combo off. So there's 3 damage to do another... Yep. Cool. We will likely die in short order. We do have a decent number of basic islands, so there is some hope that we make it through this, but this is very bad. I'm just going to view that as not a card. I think if I get rid of my Swans, I have no chance at realistically winning the game. Cool. So now I can't draw a white card, Solitude away Harbinger, and get my mana back. So that's going great. I'll take 4 here. I am at 8. And if my opponent's not playing fish, that means that they just have a fistful of other interaction spells, which is also just terrible for me. I probably now need to attempt to Solitude one of these to just change the clock from a 2-turn clock to a 4-turn clock. But this is a disastrous counterspell. All right, cool. Not cool. Yeah, okay. So there goes Solitude. I am at 4, facing down lethal, and I have no castable spells. We're going to concede here, and we are going to give up on this deck as it stands now, and do a mid-video rebuild. So, what went wrong? And the answer is literally everything. And this is tough to hear about a deck builder. Sorry, this is tough to hear when you are the deck builder, but this is just completely not viable. Everything needs to go exactly your way in order for you to have a chance at winning a game. You need a Swans in your opening hand. You need an Atali's Favor in your opening hand. You probably need 3 lands in your opening hand. You probably need your opponent to have a bad hand because your interaction is highly inefficient because you are trying to build around Atali's Favor. In addition, the mana base that was built here does not actually cast the key card of the deck if you happen to draw it. Nahiri does not have enough loyalty to survive the average opposing creature that we are seeing in these modern games. So it's not like you get to activate this and then get another turn worth of value. And we didn't get any cool scenarios where, like, oh, I evoked a Solitude, now on 4 mana I play Nahiri, 0 Nahiri, Solitude your threat away, I don't care that it was a token copy. That sort of stuff was just practically not coming up in games. We made 0 attempts at doing a combo attempt in 3 matches. So we need to give up on this. This, as it stands now, is not competitive in any capacity. So what I'm going to try to do is figure out when was the last time that Swans was successful, and what did those decks look like? Because while this is a really cool interaction, building the deck like this is not working. And this is a really good reality check here. So, the last time that Swans of Bryn Argoll got a recorded result in an event, according to MTG Top 8, was in 2019. It is 2025. So that is probably very, very telling for how competitive trying to build around the Swans is going to be. So I was unable to locate a Swans deck list that had a positive record in quite a long time. This one had a 2-3 record. The idea here was that you can potentially just steal a win when you don't have Swans by using Treasure Hunt to fill your hand, and if you play like 44 lands, then you can just Seismic Assault into Treasure Hunt and potentially get a turn 4 kill that way. And you can play Molten Vortex as another way to discard all of those lands you get from Treasure Hunt. But this feels just dreadful in terms of agency. You just have to mulligan to one of a couple of cards, which admittedly is what we were doing anyway. But in terms of real decision making, you have very little ability to interact with what your opponent is doing. I find something like this unsatisfying. I'm going to try to keep looking. All right. Been about 20 minutes. I've ended up going down the commander rabbit hole instead. And I've got a crazy person idea, which might be exactly what we need to salvage this. What if we try to combo with an entirely different card? What if we try Niv Mizzet Perrin? So whenever we draw a card, it deals 1 damage to any target. So we draw a card. We deal a damage to the Swans. We prevent the damage. We draw a card. We deal a damage to Swans. And instead of using Swans to end the game, we use Swans to end up with an overwhelming amount of card advantage. And if we run a bunch of red removal, we can just have a 3-mana draw 5 cards that maybe also draws 2 more cards on top of that if we control a wizard. Dragon Wizard. So we're going to try shoving what we're doing here together into an existing modern blue-red control shell. I don't really know that this is going to work, but there might be some hope here. This is the best thing that I've come up with. Let's see how viable this is. Let's jump into a second friendly league and see how it goes. Okay, opening hand has probably too much mana, not quite enough card advantage. Okay. Well, we're pretty far away from that right now. The rest of these cards are fine. The Cascade Bluffs that I threw into the deck to help smooth over blue, 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 red, red, red. Not ideal here. Does not cast Preordain. Basic Plains. Now, I did add a few mana sources into the deck, so I don't think I'm going to have that much trouble actually just drawing another reasonable land, like so. We'll just Preordain here. Those cards are fine. I'm always taking Flame of Honor. Counter spell, I'm going to take. It might not be good immediately, but assuming my opponent is casting fair white creatures, Death and Taxes style or something like that, I will probably find a window to do something with a counter spell. And if nothing else, it could potentially counter a Flash Orcish Bowmasters or something like that. Hell yeah. I'm just gonna counter the Overlord that's probably coming. My opponent here is going to have exile-based removal rather than damage-based removal. So Swans is definitely worse. Opponent's a fan of the content and says hello. I'm just gonna take this damage from Felia. I just don't think I need to flinch yet. The stuff that's here is not threatening enough. Third land drop. Opponent's passing. This is fine. I don't need to tap mana yet. I will just make a land drop and pass again. No action from my opponent. Yeah. Actually, I can do this slightly differently. I can do this using the Cascade Bluffs. Convert red into blue, and I leave both colors up at the same time. So the Felly is coming in. At this point, lightning bolting is probably fine. Ephemerate style cards are possible, but not like actually super threatening. This is fine. Forgot how annoying Cascade Bluffs is on Magic Online. Let's just go ahead and bolt this now while my opponent is tapped out. This Snapcaster Mage being in play means that Flame of Honor gets to do the cool Flame of Honor thing next turn. If I drew another land and I had access to Snap Counterspell, I would not make this play here. Bam. So note that it is turn 5. We are playing a reasonable game of Magic, but the Swan and the Niv are nowhere to be seen, and also just not castable, even though I injected a bunch of extra lands into this deck. Recruiter is good value. Just finding a Thalia. Cool. I'm good just chilling with Flame of Honor and Snapcaster Mage available. I don't care if I take 1 in combat. Land drop. I'm fine taking 1. I want to keep my wizard in play here. 15. And we're going to continue to play this flash game. I'm fine doing this. I'm going to draw 2 cards, deal 5 damage to target creature, and hope Bowmaster doesn't happen. Bam. Ooh, nice. And depending on the results of that, I surveil afterwards, I think. Yes. I'm going to say that's fine. Opponent could do something while I'm tapped out here. They choose not to. I'll pass the turn with 2 pretty decent options available. Is that true? Or do I just play Thunderclap Trainer and commit to Counterspell? Maybe I just play Thunderclap Trainer and commit to Counterspell. We don't care about Offspring here. Spell Snare is a cool pickup. No attack. Okay, so opponent is not using their mana. They're not just going to trade Thalia for a known card. White Orchid Phantom. Yeah, sure. You got it. You can now resolve something else, which I will Flame of Honor. No, they're not going to. That's a nice pickup. I'm like now perfectly fine with attacking. All right, opponent takes the damage, and I have all the options in the world available. I'll just pass the turn here. There's a Thalia. I'll just counter it. And then hopefully Flame of Honor, another creature on my opponent's turn. I'll counter something that has more of an immediate impact on the game. Like if my opponent just does like a 5-mana Overlord, I will probably just counter that. I could Flame of Honor again, just hoping that my opponent does not have stuff. I don't think I'm going to. Am I fine casting you? I'm fine casting you. I'd like to make an additional land drop here. Difference between 4 and 5 mana is very big. We are getting a response. A Solitude. This is fine, probably. This seems fine. I have 2 wizards. This seems like it's already winning the game. Seems like that's already winning the game. Well, let's put that land on top. Let's play that land. Yes. I'll intend on Flame of Honoring. Do I just want to do it now? Like with another flame coming, is it just fine to do that? Let my opponent resolve something big and scary. How big is the Overlord? That matters. Is it a 5/5? Can't remember the 5/5 or 6/6. It is a 5/5, so even if my opponent doesn't Overlord, that's not actually that bad. Sure. Draw 2. 5 damage. Send in for 1. Opponent's at 13. Play patterns of trying to get to a 6-mana tap-out win condition are super weird. It is another Solitude, which makes the Flame of Honor a little worse. But hopefully that's all just fine. We found Swans anyway. Grind them to dust. I don't know. Maybe I just take 3 in this turn cycle. Do stuff at my opponent's end step instead. Ephemerate is a thing to be thinking about. Bowmasters is a thing to be thinking about. Yeah, I don't really like that. Snapcaster Stern Scolding? Seems fine. Yeah. Stern Scolding. And then I get to counter this while leaving up actual factual counterspell. I'm just going to take this hit. This is fine. There's another land. Liquor Wisp. No. No, I do not like the sound of that. Thunderclap Trainer, not quite too offering. Let's just draw more cards. I like drawing cards. Drawing cards is fun. Draw 2, plus 5 damage. Draw 2, 5 damage. This is a hand of Magic the Gathering cards, folks. The likes of which may never have been seen before. 11. I'm going to just cast this. Sometimes my opponent resolves a spell snares thing. Specifically, that might end up going to face. I'll take the bolt over the Galvanic Discharge. Another land is probably not what my opponent wants to see. Emperor of Bones is a great pickup, though. So my opponent gets some really good Overlord value here. Super punished for not holding up Spell Snare. I'm unsure how much it's going to matter. What does my opponent get? Elia? Flicker Wisp might have been better there, right? Because you just flicker the Overlord immediately and keep it rather than sacrificing it. I always forget the exact text of finality counters. I'm just going to gain 5 life there. I have so much inevitability. Yeah, so now this gets sacrificed. Okay, cool. So I have mana for Spell Snare and mana for Lightning Bolt. I can drop a Swans. Bam. All right. And we'll pass the turn here. Opponent does not cast the Thelia. Emperor of Bones can start eating away at my graveyard. The Emperor is coming in. I'm just going to block with Snapcaster Mage here. Just to save the life. I've got another wizard coming in a minute. Now we attempt to finish off the Emperor. Again, still have Spell Snare for Thelia. There could be something like an Ephemerate here that could be annoying, though. There is not. That is a great pickup. In go the Swans. Another Solitude. I had one more. Do have one more mana if I'm willing to pay 3 life. Okay, that occurs. So now, Sporific Springs. Yes. All right. Blue, blue, red, double red, blue, red, Niv Mizzet. Pass turn. Spell Snare available. Spell Snare will cantrip. Nope. Opponent says, I'm doing a lot of reading here. No, I'm playing some weird ones. That's another Solitude. I can't cast an instant or sorcery spell to get value here, unfortunately. But I will have the same line available to me next turn, and I do gain 5 life for this. 20. I'll go back down to 17 here, which is no big deal. Otawara. That might be a spell. Blue, 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 red, Deuter. Deuter in play. I'm going to hold that as a potential spell. Still no Thelia. Am I crazy? Did my opponent not return a Thelia to hand? Maybe I'm crazy. I'm playing Swans after all, so stop playing 5 drops. Play 2 drops. 2 drops. Overlord. Getting back another Solitude, which pitches the Thelia. So now my Spell Snare is not getting good value. This was going so well. Now it's not. Take 6 damage. I am at 16. So now you probably just become a spell. Sorry, you become a land. 6 mana. Once again. Niv Mizzet. Preordain. Draw a card. I get to deal 1 damage to something immediately. We'll choose a Solitude. Then I will actually preordain. No to the land. No? Say no to that. Trigger. Kill the Solitude. But, like, got other problems. I'm not very good against the Overlord without Graveyard Hate. With Graveyard Hate, it becomes a joke. But my red removal is sending these creatures to graveyard, which is obviously a problem. So my opponent gets to trigger this, return a Solitude, remove this. Yep. Gain 5 more life. The loop that I'm in is not fantastic. Then it's just a land drop. This is where I need like a Flame of Honor. Swans are interesting. Guess we just 6 mana Offspring this. And See where this goes. Counterspell is reasonable. I might need to take Galvanic Discharge just so I can discharge plus something else. Like discharge plus Lightning Bolt. Hey, discharge plus discharge will do. So, yeah, I will pay 3. Yeah, I will pay 2. Cool. So, I have a kind of annoying win condition in play. My opponent has some Solitudes. I will probably double block one to just take it off the board. And then maybe I do Swans plus a red thing as an Ancestral. My opponent mills out before I do, if we end up going that long. Alright, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and double block, take one of those out. My individual life points matter a lot here. It is a Fatal Push. That's fine. I saved some life. The Fatal Push not removing the Swans also, like, is a thing. Are you Vigilant or anything? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. I can just hold this back as a blocker and not play out Swans immediately. Alright, nothing from my opponent. White Orchid Phantom. I'll use my spell. There are some scarier things like Felia, but I'm just going to use my mana. Then I think I have another Surveil land in here. Nope. Wrong. They're right there. Okay. Here we go. Play Swans. Galvanic Discharge. Target Swans. Pay red. I can pay 4 energy. This is a 1 mana, draw 4. Fuck yeah. Very happy with that. Now I have a 1 mana, draw 3 if I would like. Maybe I need to use that one on my opponent's stuff. Let's just cast this at face value. Galvanic Discharge. Alright, we're cooking. We're cooking. I'm going to pass the turn here. Alright, Solitudes are not attacking in. I am gonna draw 3 cards. Seems good. Alright. Love this. Draw 2. 5 damage. Draw 2. 5 damage. 1, 2, 3. Cool. Punchies. Punchies. Fatal Push is fine. I'll just play out a new Swans. Yeah. Pass. This is a game of Magic the Gathering. Unquestionably. I counter it. I counter it. Absolutely not. I'm not sure I draw any more cards with Swans. I think it is time to just turn the corner on this game. So, haul. Nope, 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 not that one. Activate. Go to combat. Send in. 15. There's an objective correct answer about what fetch land to play there. I don't remember what's in my library at this point. Play more Swans. Have counterspell available. Alright, good shit. I think this is now the win. I absolutely do not have time to play another game that looks like this. I think we have some Ghost Vacuums or something that looks like that for the post-sideboard games, though. Honestly, just so you don't block. No, that's greedy. You can have that. I don't need my graveyard. Like, the Thunderclap Trainer can just trade with that. Sure. Go to Punchies. Punchies, Punchies, Punchies. Yep, that's fine. 7. Alright. Ugh. That was fun. I enjoyed that. We are very likely to time out in the next game, but I enjoyed that a lot. Surgicals and Ghost Vacuum, absolutely in. Oddly, I want a Surgical fucking Solitude. That's really the problem card here. Otherwise, generally speaking, my stuff looks good. I might play Stern Scolding. I'm gonna cut 1 piece of top end, I think. I'm gonna cut 1 Thunder Trap Trainer. And then I think I get rid of 2 Preordains. I think I just have a pile of good cards. I don't think I need to manipulate much. I say as I draw 2 Preordains. The humor is not lost on me there. I'm fine keeping this hand. Opponent's on 6. And we're starting the game at a slow pace, multiple Ghost Vacuums. I'm just going to get a Preordain out of my hand here. I'm going to get rid of Sync. I'll take Flame of Honor. It's a removal spell when I don't have a removal spell yet. It's not the one that I want right now because I don't actually have a wizard. I'm just going to take it. That's just Felia at sorcery speed. So now I want to preordain for a 1-mana red removal spell, which I did not find. I'm going to say no to this. I'm going to say no to that. Did not high roll. I don't think I need Ghost Vacuum immediately. Let's just try to find some removal. That is not removal right now. If this game looks like it's going to not go my way in the next 2-ish turns, I should probably just concede and have a game where I'm on the play. Like, this is going very poorly. My opponent, gets so much value here. I think I'm going to take a game where I'm on the play. My hand's fine. I could keep playing this, but I think it's too likely that I time out. I just want a game where I'm on the play, and my Stern's Goldings and Spell Snares have a better chance at working. This is fine. I would like to use Preordain to find something good to do on my turn 2 or 3. I can technically do this into this, but I might want to have, say, a counterspell available instead. Opponent going to 5 now. I'm going to remove this upkeep stop. All right, opponent is on 5. I will Preordain. No to that. I'm not ready for this. I'm just going to get rid of Snapcaster Mage. It's fine. But I think that's all that it is fine. Vial? Sure. That's pretty actively good for my opponent. Let's Thunderclap Trainer and just find a new card. That's great. Hopefully I just ride a mid-range Flame of Honor to victory here. 2 mana. Overlord. Sure. Opponent gets Felia, I presume. Opponent gets Felia. So I'll have a Galvanic Discharge for that in a minute. Snapcaster. Is it Snapcaster Preordain? I don't think so. I think this is a Flame of Honor turn. I'm going to take some more damage. Destroy target artifact. Draw 2 cards. This just makes my opponent's mana tighter, which I am on board with. We'll give a little love tap here. I am still behind on clock, but I am catching up a little bit. I'm kind of just in turbo mode here. Sure. So I'm going to go bam. Yes. That is a Solitude. That has power or toughness 2 or less. Now Felia happens. Felia is fine. That's going to resolve. I should have fetched here to not create a weird priority pass situation. That's on me. Mountain. Flame. Draw 2. 5 damage. Draw 2. 5 damage. Yeah, hopefully no Ephemerate as final card. Fuck. Yep, I mean, that's fine. I mean, it's really not fine, but it's happening. Now I lose this in combat too. I had already planned to play around this with Flame of Honor plus Galvanic Discharge as something that I was intending on doing, but then my opponent had the Solitude as well. That was very, very good for them. So now my opponent is going to get an Overlord. The Overlord gets to return a Solitude. I can remove the Overlord, but this is really annoying. Felia trigger, Overlord. Oh, fuck, Aven Interrupter. Oh, that's so bad. Yeah, I'm still okay. I'm going to do this with suboptimal timing, just because my clock is very pressed right now. Lightning Bolt, Galvanic Discharge. There's the Aven Interrupter, which I will Stern Scolding. Yeah, counter, deal 2 to this, clear that. I've made my land drop. I'm going to pass the turn. My opponent has 0 cards, 1 after they draw. If I untap and get to play Offspring Thundertrap Trainer, I think I'm in good shape. Oh, my opponent didn't take that. That's crazy to me. That's wild. I flickered my Snapcaster Mage. I don't have mana to bring something back here or anything. Yeah. Oh shit. Okay. I mean, yeah. Draw 2, 5 damage. Draw 2, 5 damage. Bam. Bam, 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 bam. Ghost Vacuum is cool. Thunderclap Trainer first. I just have a big dragon to play next turn. Surgical is great. Surgical, target Solitude. I'm just going to do this right now. Solitude. Oop, fuck. Solitude, Solitude, Solitude. Looks like one's already gone. If I had more time, I would be analyzing their deck list. I don't. I just frankly do not have the time. I probably shouldn't even play this Ghost Vacuum. 12. How good's the top deck? Perhaps not good enough. Land drop. No. Ghost Vacuum and Overlord as something to do for next turn. Punchies. Send them. Don't care if these die. 9. Deuter. Pass. Technically, I should not be tapping this because of Emperor of Bones. But Clock. Recruiter. There's no Solitude, so they can't tutor up something that just instantly answers the Niv here. A Skyclave. Skyclave also does not answer Niv. So I get to draw a card, I get to ping Recruiter. I now have Counterspell available, which is fantastic. I'm going to go to Punchies. I am going to Punchies. Woo, we have gotten the GGs. Crazy match. Opponent is at 1, 3, 6, 7, and 8. That is the concession point. And honestly, I don't really think it is possible for me to top that match. So I think we have successfully rebuilt this deck under a slightly different premise. Let's go ahead and wrap up this video. So let's go into some deck building lessons here. If we look at the average card quality in this deck, the average card quality in this deck is the average card quality of a modern deck. If we look at the average card quality of this deck, well, what of these cards are actually realistically playable in Modern? Solitude and, to a lesser extent, Subtlety? Many of the cards in this deck, I maybe wouldn't even play in Limited. And if you are trying to make a bad idea work by playing more bad cards, you often end up in this cycle where when your primary plan doesn't work, you are left with a bunch of bad cards that are just not super reasonable to cast on their own. A 5-mana 4/4 blue-white Sphinx with Flying and Vigilance is not exciting. Whereas in this deck, so many of these cards were just good cards. And the Swans popped off, admittedly in the very, very late game. But Lightning Bolt, draw 3, I think it was a Galvanic Discharge, draw 4. Those were perfectly reasonable things to do. And there was a combo of sorts with Niv Mizzet. There was the just raw synergy of, hey, I don't need my removal spell, now it's Ancestral Recall. And that was totally fine and good. And the potential for a 3-mana draw 7 was there. You know, that's Days Undoing or Echo of Eons levels of good, but they are fully one-sided. So, Socks of Grandeur, I hope that was a useful video for you, and I hope this gives you some things to think about in terms of building around the Swans. But again, would you rather play Swans or get your opponent dead with something like Murktide Regent or Oculus? That is just so much easier and doesn't require you to jump through any hoops. Magic is very different than it was a few years ago, maybe when Swans was playable. Maybe not good, but playable. And so often in deck building now, Magic deck building is about playing as many good, powerful cards rather than creating these awesome synergistic shells. And so the days of Swan combo, they might be gone. But if you want to chase the glory a little bit, I hope this was useful and gave you some fun things to think about. I will put both of these deck lists in the video description, and you all can choose what you want to play if you want to emulate this one. All right. Despite the bad beats, not even bad beats, despite the losses in the first couple of rounds there, I'm going to say that this was a great video. I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day. See ya!